What's up, y'all? Welcome back to MSM Audio. I'm Tim. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is Piano Made Easy, Augmented, and Diminished Chords with inversions in the key of E. Let's jump right in. I'm going to start with your basic E major triad, augmenting it to raise it half a step for E, G sharp, and C. First inversion moves the third into the root position for G sharp, C, and E. And the second inversion moves the fifth into the root position for C, E, and G sharp. Next, we'll move on to the E augmented major seventh for keys E, G sharp, C, and D sharp. First inversion, G sharp, C, D sharp, and E. And the second inversion will be C, D sharp, E, and G sharp. And the third inversion moves the seventh into the root position for D sharp, E, G sharp, and C. Next, we'll move on to the E augmented dominant seventh for E, G sharp, C, and D. Again, with that fifth being augmented up a half step to C. First inversion, G sharp, C, D, and E. Second inversion, C, D, E, and G sharp. Okay, and the third inversion, D, E, G sharp, and C. Now we'll move on to the E augmented sixth for E, G sharp, C, and C sharp. First inversion will be G sharp, C, C sharp, and E. Second inversion will be C, C sharp, E, and G sharp. And the third inversion will be C sharp, E, G sharp, and C. Moving on to the diminished triad, we'll start with E diminished for E, G, and B flat. First inversion will be G, B flat, and E. Second inversion will be B flat, E, and G. Now we'll move on to E diminished major seventh, starting with E, G, B flat, and D sharp. First inversion will be G, B flat, D sharp, and E. Second inversion will be B flat, E, or D, well, B flat, D sharp, E, and G. Fingerings can get tricky, takes a lot of practice. Don't get discouraged if you make mistakes. Just keep going. And the third inversion, D sharp, E, G, and B flat. Again, see, fingerings get tricky. Again, D sharp, E, G, and B flat. That D sharp E, that can get tricky. There we go. And we'll move on to the E diminished seventh for E, G, B flat, and D flat. First inversion will be G, B flat, D flat, and E. Second inversion will be B flat, D flat, E, and G. And the third and final inversion will be D flat, E, G, and B flat. This is augmented and diminished chords with inversions in the key of E. Again, please don't get discouraged. The fingerings can get tricky. It will take a lot of practice, a lot of over and over and over again, but practice makes perfect. Keep going. It's a long journey. Thank you all for tuning in. See you on the next one. MSM Audio.